Hi there, it's David John, the Resourceful Coach, and always when I sort of look back at the comments on my videos, I try to do some videos to go what people want to see. And I've had a few people ask about, can we go through how to hit a fairway wood, how to hit a hybrid off the fairway? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to sort of cover that, go through a few things that I've learned over the years that have made it easier to hit these particular clubs, and a little bit understand how the clubs are designed to work. So let's start sort of a little bit at the beginning of my golf. The first golf club, or first wood I should say, that I was bought was a 4-wood. Had a little bit of loft. It was great for me. I started the game very young and I could hit it off the tee, but I learned how to hit it off the ground. And to this day, we're talking over 45 years later, I've still got a 4-wood in my bag. And the reason why I have that 4-wood in my bag is the loft of the club. So we're going to sort of a little bit sort of kill the idea. And again, not everybody this is going to work. Some people it will work, some it won't. But for me, one of my biggest hates in golf is that we talk about power, and a lot of golfers are talked into buying a 3-wood to hit off the fairway. And what we're going to show you today is that unless you're generating two things, and that's good power and consistent contact, it's going to be a very, very difficult club to hit. And we're going to show you just by having a little bit more loft on the club will make it a little bit easier. And that may mean you change from using something like a fairway wood, like my 4-wood that I've got here, and you might go to a hybrid, or nowadays a really good club out there is a 7-wood. That seems to be, again, a club that go back 15 years ago was in favour, and it's now sort of come back. And I would encourage you to try these clubs. Now, what do I want to do? When I'm hitting a fairway wood shot, two things I want to achieve. Most important, I want to get some distance on the shot. It's really key that I get that feeling, get that success on the shot. 2, I want to feel that I'm getting decent height, okay? Because as Arnold Palmer said, there are no bunkers in the sky. So if I can get the ball up in the air, it's going to be a lot safer up there than running along the ground when I'm trying to hit it a decent distance. Only time I really want to get that ball on the ground is as I get closer to the green and use the better putting surface. So one thing I would look at is look at how successful you're being with your fairway woods, and understand, again, something I was taught as a child was we would always try to sweep the ball off the ground when we hit a wood. But actually the ball is on the ground, and if you're that good and that precise, you probably don't need to watch this video. So I would always encourage you to feel like you're slightly hitting down with your woods and not trying to pick it off or even hit up on the wood. Only time we'd encourage you to ever hit up on a shot is when it's on a tee peg. So your driver, or if you are somebody who may use a 3-wood off the tee, you may be encouraged to hit a little bit up on the ball. But as soon as that ball's on the ground, you've got to get to the bottom of it. So the most important thing is to think, I've got to reach the bottom of the golf ball. And this is an important thing to understand. One of the things that we've looked at over the years recently with systems like Flight Scope and TrackMan is we have this thing called angle of attack. And that's basically the angle the golf club is arriving at the ball. And if we're hitting an iron, we like to see a negative number. When we're hitting a driver, we like to see a positive number. And the importance of that iron shot when you're hitting, because you're hitting off the ground, if you're hitting down, you're going to reach the bottom of the ball. And I want you to take that idea into these clubs. And that's why it's so important that you have enough loft on the club. I always look back, this is probably one of the best things my dad ever did, was get me to have a 4-wood. And I always remember when I turned pro for the first time, or assistant pro, I went and bought a 13-degree 3-wood. And my boss turned around to me and said, I'll guarantee within a month that will be in the second-hand bin. 2 weeks it was in the second-hand bin. I couldn't hit it off the ground. It was ridiculous. It was great off the tee, but I could not hit that off the ground. So got rid of that straight away, went back to my 4-wood. So that's really important to understand. Have enough loft on the club. And I've gone back, a few of you have noticed this on some of my videos, I've gone back to my old Callaway Big Bertha Warbird. This is a 4+. So this has around about, when it was designed, about 16 degrees of loft. Great club, okay? For me as a professional golfer, that's going to work quite nicely to get, because I've got enough speed to get the result that I want. But if I'm honest, I'm far more consistent with my hybrid, which has 21 degrees. And that's simply because of the loft. But I need that little bit of distance with my fairway wood. So here's the key thing we're going to make sure you do when you're playing these clubs. Let's do it with the fairway wood to start with. Is we always talk about, get that ball position further forward. And I agree with that. The longer the club, you need that sensation, you get into that position. But you don't want to feel like it's a driver. You don't want to feel it right off your front heel. You've got to get that ball in position that you are automatically going to hit down and get to the bottom of the golf ball. But we're only looking to hit down maybe 1 or 2 degrees. That's important to understand. So we're not trying to hit way down on it, because you'll probably bury the club into the ground or top the ball. You won't get any consistency. So you're just looking to feel like when you're making that swing, nice rhythm, feel like you can hear that, hopefully, the graze of the club going through, just grazing the surface. And that's what I'm looking for as I play the shot. So what I do, if we look at those 2 positions, if I play the back of the ball in the middle of my stance, I move my feet out approximately about 1/3 this way, 2/3 this way. So now the ball is just forward of centre, and with the length of the club, what I find now is I'm going to make nice contact to the bottom of the golf ball. Now, here's the other thing that's really important, and this is why I love this club. You must let that club, when it sits on the ground, let it sit flat on its bottom. Don't start to twist the club face. Don't close the face down, because what golfers tend to do is they close it down, but that does 2 problems, okay? 1, you now haven't got the loft, and 2, when you set the club in that position, you're more likely to come down on the ball, and you're going to chunk the club into the ground. So what's great about this Warbird sole plate, I just sit it flat on the ground, and it sort of sits there for me. I don't need to do anything. So now I know if I get that in position, I do my 1/3, 2/3 position. If I now keep good balance, I can now make solid contact with that ball off the club face from there, back and through. Okay? And we get that strike that we're looking for through the shot. And we're pretty much the 200-yard mark is just there. And we've just ended up just short of the green. And you can see from the mark that I've made, there's a very slight mark in the ground where the club has gone through the grass. I don't want to pick it off cleanly. We're not that good. And that's really, really important to understand, that we get that sensation when we're striking through the ball. Now, the advantage of going to something like a hybrid is we can look at the club. We've mentioned one thing, we've talked about the loft, but the other thing, golf clubs change in length. And if you're that player that finds that when you play the shot, this feels a little bit out of control, the 3-wood, which we've said we don't want to do, so use something like a 4 or 5-wood or even a 7-wood, all the time you're getting a slightly shorter shaft on the club, which I always think it's easier to get the contact. That's the key thing that we're looking for. All right, so that was okay for me, but I'd encourage you, try a 5-wood, maybe even a 7-wood. But a lot of you guys have really good success with your hybrid type clubs, okay? And that's absolutely fine. And what I'm going to do, because I don't want to create too many inconsistencies in my shots, is I want to feel the same idea. Okay, so I'm going to do the same routine with my setup. I'm going to play that ball. There's my middle, 1/3, 2/3. And now what should happen again? Let the club sit flat on its bottom. Let it sit how it's designed. And from that position now, I can get that club coming back into the bottom of the ball. Because of where the ball position is, should be hitting slightly down. And now we get the height that we're going to get. I'm going to go a little bit shorter than the fairway would, but I'm going to get the consistency as we go through. And again, you can see the mark there that I've made through the ground. If I'm doing that, I'm always reaching the bottom of the golf ball. And that's the important thing that we're looking for as we play through this shot. So what we're going to look at now, we've looked at that from the ball position side. We're just going to look at it from what I call down the line angle to get an idea of the path of the swing, but just keep that rhythm and feel of the swing to get the consistency in the shot. Now, why we're looking at it down the line this time is more to show the alignment of the body. And what's really important to understand, we talked about the fact, and you saw from those divot marks, that we're hitting slightly down when we're hitting the fairway wood and the hybrid. And we don't want to feel like we're hitting up on the ball. So one of the things I see a lot of time, which people are scared of doing, is they'll sort of try and get their alignment. I always look for alignment to be pretty neutral, so pretty much parallel to where you want to go. But when they're trying to hit these clubs, they might even get a little bit closed and try to sort of hoik the ball up into the air as they go through the shot. And that creates the problem that then you're not hitting down on the ball. So if you look at anything, especially stuff written by Ben Hogan, when you're hitting down on the ball, if anything, you want to feel as if you're aiming a little bit left. Because the more you hit down, the shaft is actually going to lean forwards and will promote it to go right. So when you look at something like Ben Hogan, what he did brilliantly is he felt like he was probably standing a little bit open with any shot off the ground, and then he was slightly closed, so a stance aiming to the right, when he was hitting anything off a tee peg like a driver, not so much an iron because it was on such a low tee peg, he was still hitting down. So we're playing up this hole, okay, and if you look up the hole, and then you can see the flag in the distance there, but we'll highlight that for you. But there looks like a green bushy tree to the left. I actually want to feel like I'm swinging more towards that tree. I want to feel that as I hit down on the ball, it will push me back on line. So I want to sense that as I go through the shot to make sure mentally understand as you hit down, if anything, the ball is going to go a little bit to the right. Okay. And you can hear then, hopefully you can see, even then I've taken a little bit of divot with my hybrid. Not scared to get the club to the bottom of the ball, and that ball's gone between that green tree and the flag. Very happy with that result. I'm still over 200 yards away. I'm not going to reach the green from this position. So what's really important when you're hitting these fairways, I'm going to give you sort of 2 or 3 key things. Number one, depending on your speed and your consistency of contact, make sure you've got plenty of club and loft in your hand. That's what I mean. It's the loft that's the key bit. So 21 degrees. Don't think 18 it will go further. If you're not getting the elevation, it won't go further. That's the key thing as you go through there. Find a ball position just slightly forward of center that you're getting a nice feeling of getting that strike down to the bottom of the ball. That's what we want to feel as we're playing the shot. And understand you want to see that ball get airborne. So everything you're doing is about getting that ball up into the air. So as I said, I've gone a little bit more lofted than probably most professionals would do, but for me, it gives me the consistency to get the results that I want. Let's hit one more for you just to show you that. So I'm aiming at that tree, hopefully through my stance, you can see, keeping that stance a little bit open. From there, that feels now, if I hit down on the ball, that's going to hit down the line I want to go. And that was the best one of the 4 that I've hit. So be really happy with them. But understand, you don't want to sweep the ball off the ground. Get more loft, hit down on the ball, and you'll have a lot more success. Go and buy a nice lofted fairway wood, like a 7 wood, definitely a 5 wood. Don't go any lower than that. 21, 24 degree hybrid, and you'll have a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed that video today. It's talking a little bit about how to hit your fairway woods and your hybrids and getting success with it. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you soon.